Send it back.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. That's fantastic. I appreciate that. You will recall, gentlemen, that on the 26th of January, on Perth Water, while people were waiting for the Skyworks to start, that there was a tragedy involving an aircraft in which two people, the pilot and a passenger, were killed. Can you tell me what role, if any, CASA had in licensing, approving, certifying the pilot to be in that confined airspace?
Senator, a couple of things about this. The CASA had a role in approving the air show.
Approving the air show?
So we're responsible. So the air show, the air display organisers apply to conduct an air display. We assess the safety of that air display in its entirety and all of the activities that are going to be undertaken as part of the air display. So that's our role, to determine whether or not the display can go ahead or whether the display can go ahead as planned or with particular changes. So that's one aspect of it. We also obviously license pilots and register aircraft, so the aircraft that are in the display, the pilots that are in display, and the activities that they will undertake. So we've got quite a broad role in terms of that.
So it's a very confined space, isn't it? For those of them who don't know Perth Water, there's 500,000 people watch this thing.
Yep.
I don't know how many would have been there, probably 120, 200,000, maybe 300 or 400 boats. The barges that from which the Skyworks are to take place would have been anchored in position. So can you tell us what criteria there would be in place to licence a pilot competent to participate in the air show? And was the gentleman who regrettably lost his life in this incident, was he so licensed, or did you? And media reports say that CASA had concerns about his competence. Are they valid comments, or was that media speculation?
Senator, I want to be a little bit careful here because this matter is still under investigation by the ATSB.
Investigation.
So
what you can't comment on, tell me.
There's an area that I would prefer not to traverse. In terms of the pilot or the pilot in command, pilot had he was licensed to fly the aircraft. He had about 160 hours in the aircraft. He'd been flying that. He'd had that aircraft since 2012. He'd been flying since 1994. He had endorsements with the FAA for floating hull endorsement with the FAA, and he had multi-engine aircraft endorsement with the FAA. We actually provided his type rating just prior to the event, but there was no reason not to provide that given the qualifications that he had.
So there was no suggestion, as appeared to be in some media speculation, that there was some delay and it was only a last-minute decision that he was given his qualification or his licence or his approval to fly in that incident.
I don't think that's correct, Senator. I don't think there was a delay as such. I think that he actually applied for, and hopefully this will all be resolved during the investigation phase. So sure. Bear with me. But I think my understanding is that given that he had FAA qualifications in this space, that he thought he was qualified and yes. Found out that he wasn't qualified. He wasn't licensed in Australia, if you like, wasn't type certified in Australia. That was relatively late in the piece, and as a consequence, that application was made, and based on the experience that he had, that licence was approved. Now, it could have been approved 3 months ago. It just happened to be approved very close to the event.
So the timing of the approval was not relevant?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think the qualifications of the pilot, the basis upon which the approval was granted, is a critical issue. Let me make a final point on that, if I may. When we provide a framework within which an air display can occur, we put particular rules in place, and pilots and aircraft are supposed to operate in particular ways. If they do not operate in accordance with their approved flight plan, sometimes tragedies occur.
It was a tragedy that those two were killed, but it could have been a vastly greater tragedy had he not went in where he did. I'm aware of the investigation, so I won't ask you any more on that space. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Carmody. Senator Sterling? Senator McCarthy?
Yep, thank you.
Senator, we did actually assign an area for him to operate within the river, and he was operating within that, so within the safety zone that we had assigned. In the same way, I think previous air displays have occurred in Western Australia. You know, the Red Bull, a range of other things that have occurred. You know.
It's a very, very common location,
Yep,
as it has been.
it is. I'm sorry.
Thank you.